because I do it so well.
Indeed. And we're recording.
Thank you.
Welcome everyone to the Triangle Speakers LGBTQ+ panel. In this program, you can expect to hear speakers tell their life stories, discuss what it means to be part of this community, and answer audience questions. Triangle Speakers works to eliminate fear, prejudice, and hatred towards LGBTQ+ people so that a healthy environment exists where all members of our community can thrive and live full and healthy lives. If you'd prefer to join this presentation in listen-only mode, please call 1-888-788-0099 and then enter the webinar ID of 987-7177-0658. Our guest today, our moderator is Edith Frederick. One of our panelists is Ren Reeve, then Leslie Reed Harrison, and Ashley Adams. This program is a partnership between the Santa Cruz Public Libraries and the Diversity Center of Santa Cruz County. As an attendee, your microphone is muted for the entire presentation. We are only taking questions and comments using the Zoom Q&A feature. If you only want to listen to this webinar, it is available by landline or mobile phone. To join this webinar using a telephone only, dial any of the following numbers. Again, I'll read one other phone number to you. It's 1-833-548-0282. And then slowly enter the webinar ID, again, 987-7177-0658. If you're joining by computer, you may use that Q&A feature to type in your comments or questions. On the attendee control bar, you'll see the Q&A icon. If you have a question for a specific panelist, please type their name in ahead of your question. All contributions may be made anonymously. In the lower left corner of the Zoom control bar, you might see audio settings, and then you'll see that Q&A icon, and then in red letters, you'll see Leave Meeting. If you're using a mobile device to access this presentation, the Q&A icon may appear near the top of the screen. In the upper left corner, you'll see Leave Meeting in red letters. You'll see a webinar ID, the ability to mute or unmute yourself, which we won't be using, and then that Q&A icon. And then once the panel begins, if you're joining by computer, to see all of the panelists, you may need to use the Zoom control bar again and select Gallery View. Depending on the size of your mobile device screen, you may need to scroll over to view whomever's speaking. And then if you're accessing this meeting via the web browser only, you will not see all of the panelists at one time, only the panelists speaking. We'll now transition to Gallery View. Please stand by. I'll now turn it over to Jen Hooker at the Santa Cruz Public Libraries.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. My name is Jennifer Hooker, and I am a librarian with the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. I use she, her pronouns. We have a very interesting program for you today. I'm very excited to be able to bring this to our community. But before we get started, I wanted to let you know about a couple of upcoming programs that the library has for you. On Wednesday, July 1st at 6 p.m., we have our monthly Writers Open Mic Night, which is where you can come and you can listen to local authors, local writers read their works out loud. If you are a writer yourself, you can also come and you can read your works out loud. It's also open to just people who are interested in listening to snippets of stories, poems, etc. So we also have a weekly trivia night, Trivia on Tap, which is hosted by us every Thursday from 6 to 7:30. And that's just a run-of-the-mill trivia night. It's general themed trivia. And that is, like I said, every Thursday from 6 to 7:30. We also have speed sketching, which is where you can come, you can select an object in your house, and you can just like hang out and draw with other artists. And that is every Tuesday at 2 p.m. All of those are done through Zoom, and you can register on our website, santacruzpl.org. So with that out of the way, the Santa Cruz Public Libraries has teamed up with the Diversity Center of Santa Cruz County to present you with the Triangle Speakers LGBTQ+ Q&A panel. And this morning I was thinking, and I was like, oh, it's an LGBT Q&A. So you're welcome for that. I'm really excited to be able to bring this to you guys. So I hope you make yourselves comfortable, just sit back and listen. Go ahead and feel free, like Sarah said, to put questions in the Q&A panel throughout the program. And we will answer them when we get to the Q&A portion. And I think that's all I have to say. So I'm going to turn it over to Edie, who is our Diversity Center moderator today. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I wish I could see you, but I'll pretend. I'm Edie Frederick. I am a 71-year-old ally, he, she, her, hers, a retired elementary teacher. And I participate in these panels because I'll tell you in my story. I'm supposed to introduce this first. I don't have my script. Ashlyn has that. But we are Triangle Speakers, and we've been in existence since, I believe, 1991. And our whole purpose is to share our personal stories as a way of educating the public about the LGBTQIA+ community. The power of personal stories is the most effective way of opening hearts and minds. And so we hope that during this time we share our stories, that you will be taking notes of questions you want to ask, because we're each going to tell a little bit about ourselves, and then we open it up. And we honestly want you to ask anything and everything that occurs to you, because the more you ask, the more we all learn together. And Ashlyn is going to give a spiel that we're supposed to read.
Hey, everybody, I'm just going to read this legalese and then we'll get to the good stuff. So we are a program of the Diversity Center that seeks to educate. We are not here to promote a political or moral point of view. We are not suggesting that you try it. We are here to be open about and proud of our lesbian, gay, bisexual, intersex, transgender, queer, questioning, and other identities, and in this process be a means of indirect support to LGBTQIA and questioning youth, as well as their friends and family. We do not represent all LGBTQ+ people. There are lesbians, gay men, bisexuals, intersex people, transgender people, queer and questioning people, and more who are Latinx, Black, White, Asian, Indigenous, Pacific Islanders, of mixed race heritage, who are teenagers, middle-aged, seniors, people with and without disabilities, poor, middle class, working class, rich, and who come from every nation on earth. We speak from our own experiences, and what we say reflects our own opinions and experiences. It's understandable that you might have stereotypes. We all do. Don't let having a stereotype keep you from asking questions. One reason we're here is to help break down stereotypes so that the strength of our diversity may come to be appreciated rather than feared. We don't know what is of interest to you, so our format is question and answer. There are no stupid questions. If you have a question, others probably have it too, and we'll be glad you asked. And if anybody is here and thinking of others who are in their families or just in their spheres, feel free to ask questions that you think they would like to know the answers to as well. I'll pass it on back to Edie.
Okay, so we're each going to tell a little bit about ourselves. So I was saying I'm Edie. I grew up in Fresno on a small fruit and vegetable truck farm, the fourth of 6 kids. And I was very fortunate. I went to a wonderful school, great, very diverse, but I knew nothing about the LGBTQIA+ community until my husband, David, who I met at Fresno State. We both became elementary teachers. He retired in 2003 and I retired in 2004. And when our son was, our only son, was going off to Japan after college to teach English with the JET program, that summer is when my husband came out to me as a gay man. Now, growing up in that small truck farm out in south of Fresno in the country, I knew nothing about the community. And I was very fortunate. I was brought up as a Buddhist, so I learned early on that life has changed. It's always changing. But if you try to change it, stop it, you make yourself unhappy. But if you go with it, then you open yourself to all kinds of possibilities. So that was my natural inclination. I said, oh, okay, now what? I mean, I was so clueless. I wanted to give my husband a coming out party. God, I didn't realize he was terrified. really terrified. So I thought, I need to learn. David, you've got to help me. I don't know what to do to help you. I'm retired. I'm carefree. Clayton's off in Japan. But when you don't know anything, you're helpless. This is why it's so important to have knowledge. So that's what we're trying to give you today. So we were fortunate. We found the group PFLAG. Have you heard of PFLAG? PFLAG, Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. So I'm an ally of that now, because when we went to their meeting, an evening meeting, we found the most welcoming group of people because they had their own stories and they wanted to be there for us. And they gave us the confidence we'd be able to figure out what to do next. And so books, DVDs, all kinds of information. I got busy trying to learn. And in that process, David was having to come out as a gay man at 60, go through adolescence. And so I learned a lot because he's very honest and open. And I learned a lot very fast. But I found Triangle Speakers. So that gave me an outlet to say, for all the rest of you ignorant people out there like me, here's a way to open your hearts and minds to something we really need to be a part of and advocate for, because people are lost, and you're going to hear some stories. They need us. So you can ask me anything about my situation now. I'm very fortunate, very, very fortunate. I read too many stories, saw videos of spouses coming out when their children are little. David made it easy for me. Clayton was off on his own, and I'm retired, so I have no worries. I'm just so grateful to him. But as I said, you can ask me anything. But I do this because, as you know, we don't have a very welcoming world for so many, and we need to change that. And this is the perfect time, because it's not just this community, it's all the communities that are not white and male that we need to advocate for, and just have a place for everybody that's very, very fulfilling and supportive. So I'm going to leave it at that, and you can ask me questions later. But who's next?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ren. I use they, them pronouns. If you want to ask me about my pronouns, feel free to do so. I identify as trans, non-binary. I also identify as pan. If you want to ask me about that, you can. I am currently waiting for a motorcycle to go by. I am currently 20. In college. I also have worked/volunteered for the Diversity Center for about 5 years. So if you want to ask me about my work here, you can. I also am a disability inclusion ambassador and a queer inclusion ambassador for a religious organization. So if you want to ask me what it's like for those two communities to intersect and what that's been like, you can do that as well. I was born and raised in Santa Cruz, lived in the same house my whole life. So I grew up in a community that everyone thought was super welcoming. Growing up here, I noticed that was not the case. From the outside, it looks super inclusive. From the inside, not as much. I'm thankful to have parents, though, that were super inclusive and supportive of me, especially when I came out the first time and the second time and the third time, and have always been very supportive of me. Growing up in school, I always knew that something was not wrong, but different. I wasn't relating to the gender norms that were given to me as a child. And I got comments from other kids on the playground like, oh, obviously she's just a boy in a girl's body. And I would be like, wait, what? Excuse me?
So close.
So that's when I started to think about it, from like a super early age. And so there are a lot of times like that in school where it was really difficult for me. But it helped that I found places like the Diversity Center Youth Program and other support services around me to help me figure myself out. So if you want to ask me about any of that, you can. I'm pretty much an open book, so feel free to give me all the questions.
Thank you, Fran. And now, I'm not sure who goes next. Oh, Jen? No,
Leslie.
Leslie. Okay, Leslie, go. Leslie, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me now? All right, thanks. Sorry, I thought the moderator was unmuting. I was being all responsible. So hi, my name is Leslie. I use they, them pronouns. I am 55 years old. I was born and raised in South Africa, Cape Town. And so I have an interesting journey to Santa Cruz, California. I was raised in apartheid South Africa and went to private girls' schools until I hit high school. And I was very much a tomboy growing up, didn't adhere to the kind of social norms that are expected of girls, played a lot of sports, was fortunate to grow up in a family where I had a mom who really didn't expect me to adhere to those norms. So I was really allowed to be whoever I wanted to be, or the way I wanted to present myself out into the world. So a lot of sports, not forced to wear dresses and all that stuff that was very typical of the 1960s. I was born in 65, so the 70s in South Africa. I'm pretty conservative. And then I hit high school, and that was like a big wake-up call for me. Most of my peers at that point were definitely very interested in boys, and that was the first time I ended up at a co-ed school. Also remember, in South Africa during that period, our schools were not racially integrated, so I went to an all-white public high school. And I didn't really get the boy thing in terms of being attracted to boys. I was much more interested in doing what boys did and performing like a boy. I remember my first day on the playground at my first co-ed school. We also wore school uniforms, so I had to wear a dress and wear my hair in pigtails, and it was just hot mess, shall we say. And during the first lunch break, I wanted to go out and play cricket on the fields like I almost did at my all-girls schools. And I walked over to the boys, and they were like, kind of looked at me, you know, these are 12-year-old cis white boys, and they were like, well, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm here to play cricket, right? And they were like, no, you have to go over there with all the other girls. And I turned around, and there were all the girls sitting in the shade, you know, doing the things that girls did, which I had no frame of reference to. And so, yeah, I spent a lot of my time in high school just being, you know, kind of conforming to gender norms. When I finally actually started thinking about my sexuality, I personally to myself identified as bisexual, but spent most of my high school dating boys. There were definitely, when I look back on my life now, I could see that I was attracted to people assigned female at birth. And it was only really in my late 20s that when I was struggling with suicidal ideation, even though I was, for all intents and purposes, in a very happily married situation, really just struggling with depression and suicidal ideation, and actually had gotten to the point where I had planned how I was going to end my life. And right before actually taking my life, I took a moment and I thought about my 2 children. At that time, I had 2 or 4 children. And I thought about their lives without me being their parent. And even though that sounds really selfish, I decided that it was more important for me to be honest, because this is how I was raising my children, about where I was in my own life's journey. And so I came out, ended a 13-year marriage. Similar to Edie's story, my partner and I had an amicable split, because we realized that the most important thing were to rock the boat as little as possible for the kids. And so we continued to co-parent, even though I left the household. And then along my journey, you'll notice at the beginning, I identified with they, them pronouns. And I really recognize now today at 55, how much of my life's journey has been recognizing and discovering what best fits for me. And for me, I identify as non-binary or gender non-conforming, in that I don't see myself as stereotypically the binary of man and woman, or male and female, and what society expects of us. So long journey, long story, from South Africa to Santa Cruz, California. And yeah, that's where I am in my journey right now. I also identify as pansexual, and if you have any questions about what that means, or any other terms or phrases that I use, I'm happy to share that with you. And I became part of Triangle Speakers because I think by telling our stories and sharing our struggles and the good things that happened too, I ended up, just as an aside, I ended up going back to school at 35 and got my degree at 49. So similarly, just like Edie said, life is certainly about change. And I just encourage everyone to embrace this incredible journey, and to recognize that each of us have our own unique way of expressing our gender and our sexuality and all that good stuff. So thank you for listening, and no question is a stupid question. I'm happy to answer anything and any questions that you have on this topic. So thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. And now?
Hello. Hello again. Hey everybody, I'm Ashlyn. I use she, her pronouns. I identify as queer. I'm from Oakland originally, although I spent a lot of time on my father's reservation and on Navy bases. I went to public school in the Bay until I transferred to private Catholic school in high school. Ooh. That was funny. I'm not Catholic. I did grow up Baptist Christian. My uncle has been the pastor of my church almost my whole life. I come from a family of 10 kids. I'm the oldest. And I think just by virtue of having that many humans, all being siblings, I am not the only one in the LGBTQ spectrum in there. So I was the first, but not the last for this generation. I came out at the end of 8th grade, which was pretty funny. Or at least that's when I started coming out. You know, don't really do it all at once. I didn't come out to my parents for a lot longer than that. And feel free to ask about any of this stuff. I'm also happy to talk about my experiences as a Black and Indigenous person in public and private school. I came here for college and never left. Santa Cruz is a trap. But I did meet the person I would eventually marry here. as well as our 2 pretty cute dogs, so I'm not mad. Currently, I do diversity and inclusion trainings with Leslie. I rent movies to people, so some of you might recognize me from that, and I run the youth program at the Diversity Center. So if you're interested in any of those, please contact me and I will get you pointed in a good direction. And I enjoy doing this because I like the entertaining questions. So see if you can make me think that something is weird. Let's do this.
Thank you, Ashley. And the next speaker is?
I think that's all of us.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Very efficient. And so now it's open up to all of you to ask any and every question, please. So I don't know how we're facilitating that, but somebody is?
I think,
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take the questions. Edie, would you like me to read them out loud, and then whoever can go, whoever wants to answer can just like raise their hand and then unmute themselves.
And just to encourage people, if you have a question you want to ask and you're concerned about using appropriate language or saying something that's going to upset us, just recognize, or not upset us, but you know, you want to use the right words, right? Just give it your best shot, and we'll help you rephrase anything if there's any languaging challenges that you have. So have at it.
Brent, do you want to say something before I ask question?
No.
Okay. Great. So our first question, and if, for those of you who are watching / listening, if you click the Q&A button down at the bottom of your panel, that's where you can type in your questions, and we'll do that way.
And also throw in, you can direct the question to someone in particular or to all of us.
Yeah, so if you just want to ask Ren a question, you can say, you know, Ren, and then ask your question, or you can just put in the question and we'll assume that it's for everyone. So our first question, this is not very entertaining, I'm sorry. What is the best thing to do if I don't know a person's preferred pronoun? Ask, go around it, avoid it. I don't want to hurt feelings. I'd rather not be more awkward. I love guidance, I try to be, and I hope to come across as an ally, but I'm also a rather awkward person in general. Well, anonymous, so am I. So I will let the pros answer this question.
Should we all answer? I just ask. I have never, ever once in my life been offended by somebody asking for my pronouns. And usually when I meet new people, I try and say, hey, I'm Ashlyn, I use she, her pronouns. And then that kind of normalizes it.
They're like, oh, I guess I should say my pronouns as well.
Yeah.
Because this person just said theirs. Yeah, it kind of starts the whole conversation. I would much rather someone ask me, from my personal experience, than assume and get it wrong. And if they do get it wrong, it's just like a quick, like, oh, use the right ones, move on. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Don't be like,
yeah.
Just
that person, and I'm just like, it's fine, just like, get on with it.
Yeah.
I'm much more okay with people asking me questions now than like the beginning of coming out. Like at the beginning, I was just like, oh my gosh, no one, please don't say anything or use scary. For a while, I had people just call me like by my name because I didn't want to like identify myself. So it's very useful now to just have those miniature conversations through life.
Yeah, I can respond as well. I think when you're engaging with someone, you know, it really depends on who you're talking with. So one of the things that I do when I'm in mixed company is, and I'm introducing myself, similarly, I do what Ashlyn does, is I will include my pronouns if I feel like that's appropriate. And when I'm in mixed company, and when I say mixed company, sometimes folks who generationally are in a different space than I am, or make assumptions about my gender, I will, even though I would rather someone use they, them pronouns with me, I also recognize that this is a learning curve for people. And I really base it on my audience, and I will insert, I might not do it immediately because I'm really not about shaming or making people feel very uncomfortable, while at the same time, I do want to recognize my own true identity and self. And so what I will do is I will say further down in the conversation, I will indicate, well, actually, I use they, them pronouns, and then give the person the opportunity to correct their mistake. But yeah, I don't necessarily always call people out publicly. Again, it just depends on the audience. If I'm in LGBTQ space or in queer space, I will very quickly correct someone and go they, them, and usually people take the cue off that. If I'm not in queer space, then I gauge who I'm talking with. And for what it's worth, you don't even have to say preferred anymore. You know, I don't prefer to have blue eyes. I have blue eyes. So that's just something else that you can think about. Just like any other kind of language, the languaging around pronouns is changing too. So pronoun is sufficient.
Great.
Okay, our next, oh, go ahead, Edie.
No, I was going to say next question.
Oh, our next question. Leslie, I relate to your story. I remember trying to come out to my mother in high school in the mid-90s as an identity that I didn't even have the language for at the time.
Right.
I told her I felt more like a male person inside. She told me it was a phase. I'm biologically female now, 41, now 41, and I realized that I am probably more on the gender fluid part of the spectrum. However, I don't think people see that when they look at me. I'm a shy and private person, so I don't feel like explaining this to most people I meet, not even some of my friends. I struggle with living authentically and what that means with being a private person. I grew up with LGBTQIA+ friends who knew exactly who they were, and a lot of the time I would be thinking me too on the inside, but never felt like I had the right to belong to the community and speak up. It's still hard to know where I fit in. I haven't altered my pronouns. Any advice for me?
Wow. Well, thank you for asking that question. And it's, you know, it's your journey. That's the most important thing. And coming out isn't a one-time process. And you know, those of us who live in different kind of communities, it might be okay to say, come out to your immediate friends and not your coworkers, or come out to some of your immediate friends and not your coworkers and your family. And I think the most important thing is to follow your gut and your instinct and your comfort level. You know, coming out is not an obligatory pastime or activity. And you'll know what is right. I know when I first came out after being in a long-term marriage, I was very, very nervous about coming into the LGBTQ community. Even here in Santa Cruz, I was afraid of being called fake or inauthentic, or, you know, how can you call yourself? In those days, I had come out as a lesbian because that was the languaging that I had then. And to be perfectly honest, because of biphobia, I was very nervous about coming out as bisexual because of my attraction to those assigned female at birth. I didn't want them to think that I was just some, you know, straight housewife bored with my life and this was just like a phase or something, you know. So yeah, I think, you know, it's baby steps. one of the things that I did was I started hanging out with a lot of queer identified or LGBT plus identified folks. And I slowly immersed myself into the culture. I did a lot of reading. And then when I realized that my emotional and psychological health was at a point where I was experiencing suicidal ideation, I actually went and got a therapist, and I got a local gender sexuality therapist who really, really helped me work through all those feelings and emotions. And I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't, because there's just so many factors to take into consideration. I find that, for me personally, that was very helpful. I had a few friends that I really trusted. And then I just followed my instincts, and I followed my heart. So great question. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Can I just add on, no matter where you are in your like journey on like whether or not you're coming out, it's like super important to remember that like whether you're out or not, like you and how you feel and how you identify is valid.
Yeah.
Me, like a super long time with like a lot of smattering of internalized transphobia to realize I was valid and I still mattered. So where you're at now is still
a journey.
Valid.
That's what I was going to say. You deserve to be here even if you're not out.
Exactly.
Yeah, coming out isn't what makes you queer or LGBT plus. It's really about just being comfortable in your own skin and trusting your own process.
And I do just want to add that coming out is also an iterative process. I know every year we have National Coming Out Day, and that's great. But as a person, as a member of the LGBTQ community, like, you are coming out of the closet constantly. Whether it's at work or with friends or with family. Sometimes it's subtle in the language that you use, and sometimes it's overt, saying I'm this, this, and that. But it happens all the time. The next question: what is the difference between pansexual and bisexual?
And Ren.
Do you want like, do you want like scientific, like, or like English Latin roots, or do you want?
Just be regular.
Okay, sorry, I'm like nerding out. It's great. So the difference from like what I can gather, and like everyone has a different definition. The definition is not permanent, set in stone. It's evolved over time. Bi used to be both. It's now evolved to, yes, that is the bi flag. It's now kind of evolved to being attracted to two or more genders, or your gender and another gender. Pan is more not about people's gender and more like being attracted to that person. Like, I identify as pan, and I'm like, cool, gender identity. Yours is awesome, but like, it doesn't really matter to me. And it's different for everybody, but it matters less to me what a person's gender is and more who they are as a person. Pan means all, by the way, if you're going by the root of the word.
Yeah,
I can add to that.
Says that they are bisexual because they are attracted to women and non-binary people, and that's two. And I was like, that's legit.
Yep.
There you go.
And
they were like, no dudes. Everybody else awesome. So I think a lot of people say bisexual, and a lot of people and mean two. And a lot of people now are like, gender's not really that cemented either. It's much more fluid than that.
Exactly.
So, you know, at least two.
Like one of my parents identifies as bi, and
oh, this is the pan flag.
Yes. Well, yes. There's a pan flag and a bi flag. One of my parents identifies as bi, and they're like, yeah, I haven't really thought about, I could have been attracted to a non-binary person before I met your father. And I was just like, okay, big news. Stealing my thunder here. It's my coming out moment. Yeah.
Could I add something to that? If that's okay, do we have time, moderators?
No, can't hear.
You muted yourself.
Oh, can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I thank you, Ren, for that.
Can you hear
I
me?
think I can hear you
Jen,
now.
we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
You're back on.
Can you hear me now?
My mic is on.
Your mic is on and my mic is on.
Yes. Leslie, talk.
Okay, thank you. So I think for a lot of folks, I think another way to think about it too is bisexual is also a generational term. So generally speaking, bisexuality is something that when we were still thinking in terms of heterosexual, homosexual, and bi was apparently somewhere in the middle. And then as the conversation around transgender, non-conforming and non-binary folks came into common parlance, then we start hearing the word pansexual coming into the conversation. And so generally speaking, once again, if someone uses terminology like this, it's always a good idea to ask clarification, because bisexual and pansexual can mean different things to different people. And pansexuality, in a more broader sense, is one's gender identity and sexuality and sexual preferences are not within a binary understanding of heterosexual, homosexual. And so similarly, we see pansexual as a term that is more commonly used, and bisexual tends to be a term that is used by pre-millennial folks. So again, I would just say, just ask people just to get clarity as to when they're using a term bisexual, whether they're referring to gender and sexuality or just one. So, because then you can think about whether transgender or cisgender is going to come into that conversation as well. So again, time, place, and circumstance, who you're talking to, great opportunity to ask for a clarifying question. Thanks.
All right, Edie, our next question is for you.
Okay.
Are you and your husband still married?
I am so delighted to say yes. David he went through adolescence as a gay man, had people he met, but on the computer he found someone who wrote, "Life begins at 10,000 feet." He's a backpacker, so he said, okay, I got to meet this person. And it turns out to be Richard, who is not only a backpacker, he's a bicyclist, a surfer, a mechanic, he's a nurse, the sweetest guy you could meet. And David now lives with him, and he still wants to stay married. I'm so delighted, because David's the love of my life. And so now I have it all. Not only does David live with Richard, but he's living with a nurse and a mechanic. I am not a nurse or a mechanic, so he's in better hands. I don't have to worry about him, and I can do these panels. This is my priority now. I do it in Monterey County as well as Rainbow Speakers and Friends. To make up for all those years I was not there for my students. You know, when you're ignorant, you don't even know what they need. So we have to keep learning, helping each other learn. Today I learned a lot just by your questions. So thank you for all the questions you've asked so far.
Yeah.
So I hope that answered.
The next question. What are some of your favorite fictional stories or franchises in whatever medium with positive LGBTQ plus representation? Yeah, limber up for this one.
This is what I do all day. I just watch movies and TV shows, so all of it. My favorite I saw, but I'm a cheerleader in '99, I think, and I've probably watched it like 800 times. My wife is like, "You don't have to watch that again," and I'm like, "But we do."
Portrait of a Lady for Fire.
Ma Vie en Rose is a great movie. Not to be La Vie en Rose.
Yeah. No.
Saving Face is great, and the person who made that movie also just made the half of it. It came out on Netflix in May, which seems like years ago.
Isn't that the truth?
There's plenty of TV shows. I'm still watching Supergirl. It's gonna get good again, I promise. Yeah, there's a lot. I can give you a humongous list. Velvet Goldmine. We can do this for forever. I can give you hundreds. Contact me separately and I'll give you like 80 more off the top.
I have to say, I love the Fab Five, Queer Eye, or is that what?
Oh yeah.
Because their stories come out in their helping whoever it is they're helping. It's so touching. It's just, yeah, I'm hooked.
Leslie just watches Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
No, I do not. That's my daughter.
I love that one too. Oh my God.
Oh my God. They had a private screening last night on the back shed. I could probably quote that movie line and verse in French right now. I'm actually really enjoying the HBO Max, not to promote any particular channel. What's it called? The one that just came out. Ren, help me out here.
I don't know.
I'm terrible with names.
Is it Pose?
No, yeah, Pose is fantastic. No, it's ballroom. It's all the houses. It's about 8 different houses competing against
Legendary?
each other. Legendary, yeah, Legendary. So I'm really enjoying it because at this time, at this place in the United States, being able to talk about Black trans lives and to be able to center a show around Black trans queer lives is an incredible door into a world that very many people actually really have no idea about. And Edie, you touched on this, you know, like with the Fab Five, where you get to hear their story. Like each episode, you hear more about someone's life and how they overcame all odds, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And then the other one that I really enjoyed was Sense8. That's just another one of my faves. And then, you know, if we're talking classics, Bound, back in the day. I think I just dated myself, Ashlyn, right?
Hey, with local Susie Bright involved, so.
That's right. So, and then I'm an avid reader, so I read absolutely anything and everything I can get my hands on. I'd be happy to share a list if someone wanted to reach out to me, because I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, Annie on my mind.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm
fine.
I wish I'd grown up, like I'm lucky enough to be in a generation where there is more like queer trans representation on television and in film, but I grew up with like Tales of the City and stuff.
Who let you watch that?
My parents. But there was a new one done on Netflix. which I watched recently. And I was just like, oh, look, the people that I grew up with. So it was quite interesting. I, of course, am obsessed with Pose because it's an amazing representation of like trans queer POC lives in the 80s in ballroom scene culture, and it is amazing, and also has like positive HIV and AIDS representation on screen, which is very, very rare, and featured the first POC gay relationship on film, like in
On TV?
Yeah, on TV. So it's pretty amazing to see that. Wish I saw it more.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's the first.
Oh my gosh, that's a mess.
Yeah.
I do want to mention we have about 9 minutes left, and I want to make sure we get to all the questions. So next question, what is the best way to normalize non-binary lifestyles? What are you finding the biggest societal pushback against the promotion/freedom of your lifestyles? Religion, school, media, politics? I am a cis white male, so I'm in a bit of a bubble.
First of all, actually a lifestyle. Deeply ingrained personal identity.
That.
And I say this as a cis person. So that's deeply ingrained in me. So
Ashlyn, could you repeat that, the first part of what you just said there? It got a little cut off.
oh, sure. I was just saying, I don't like thinking about my own gender identity as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a deeply ingrained identity.
Yeah.
I imagine that other people probably don't like thinking about it that way. One of my siblings is intersex, does identify on the binary, but I often think about, what if he didn't? And like, every time people are like, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
like, everything people say, just sort of offhand, totally invalidates a huge swath of people, whether they're out or not, right? It's still, that messaging is going in. So I think when I think about it, I just think about how can I sort of de-gender my language in general.
There's a difference between identity and expression.
Yeah.
I'm not like I can't do like, there is no one way to be non-binary. And like, that's just like who I am. How I express that, however, is like different to every single individual, and everyone experiences gender and expression of said gender differently.
And that includes people who identify as trans. Trans is not a binary experience. Sorry, Ren.
No, exactly. I identify as trans and non-binary, and that's because I was thankfully taught from a young age that being like trans isn't a
Bad thing.
like isn't what's
Pathology.
word? Yes, thank you. It's just like who you are, and I was assigned something at birth that I'm not, so it's just who I am.
All right, next question. Do you ever make mistakes using the wrong pronouns for others? I'm sure we all do because we're human and constantly learning.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
That thing about being in a bubble, like every once, I work with teenagers a lot. So every time I think that I know things, one of them will be like, yeah, you know this, all offhanded, like everybody knows that. And I have to Google it. I'm a grown adult and I have to look stuff up that they just know. We're definitely all in bubbles, and it's not bad for you to have lived this long in your bubble. That's what we're all doing, and just trying to learn from there.
Yeah.
I just want to throw this out. We need to figure out how to when somebody's having a baby, to not say, is it a boy or a girl?
Please.
What should we be doing?
Oh, look,
Great question.
it's a child.
It's a dinosaur. I would put mine in costumes every day.
Oh, look, 10 fingers, 10 toes, healthy baby.
Yeah. Is it healthy? Is a great question.
Actually, in a past life, I was a doula, and you will find that midwives, especially home birth midwives, will never say it's a boy or it's a girl. At least all the midwives I worked with didn't do that, because it's really the idea was it was the parents to get to see what the person with a womb had just birthed. And so I would encourage parents to take it even a step further than that, and not to go, it's a boy, it's a girl. I know this is very, very much part of, you know, so many different cultures and having gender reveal parties and all that kind of stuff. But the most important thing that you can do is to raise your child as a kind and compassionate person, and let your child take the lead. Children are a lot more intelligent than you imagine them to be, and they'll let you know pretty soon what they are and what they aren't comfortable with. And as someone who is also an educator, I know that it's important to set clear understandings and boundaries for children. And around gender and sexuality, if you as a parent or you as an educator are open and willing to discuss these topics of discussion, just like race and ethnicity with your children, then they are going to be more inclined to be more likely to let you know if their gender does not fit what they were assigned at birth, or if they're questioning their sexuality. So just be that adult who is open and available for young people and kids to come and talk to you, really is the most you can do. And educate
And I think,
yourself.
sorry, Leslie.
Yeah,
That piggybacked really well into the last question that we have. We are a really open household. All topics are on the table, but do you think it's detrimental to refer to my kids as daughter or son before they're old enough to really know how they self-identify?
That's
a good question.
It's a great question. It's a tough question to answer on a broad scale, I think.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of societal pressure.
Yeah. And if you're super open with your kids, they're probably more likely to confide in you as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And if you're, putting out there, all right, this is what I'm saying for now. If something changes, you let me know, and you're listening. I could probably live with that method in general.
As long as you give your kids the ability to communicate, they will communicate. If I had been given a chance at an earlier age to be like, look, there are more options, I would have expressed at a way earlier age, and probably would have been much more mentally healthy if I had been given the chance to communicate that. So
there are many documentaries of little ones coming out.
Yep.
And so if we'd watch those and see, oh, here's another possibility, then it's just a part of life. So
I have 4 children, and one identifies as straight, 2 identifies as bisexual, and 1 identifies as pansexual. So just within my small little family of 4, only 1 person identifies as straight. So that's just something, to think about, that the world is really a lot more diverse than we can imagine. And I think the best thing that we can do as parents, as educators, is lead by example. Do you have friends who identify along the spectrum? what examples are you, what kind of books are you reading to your kids? What movies are you exposing them to, or social media, as we say, now in 2020. And by you having a diverse group of friends and a diverse social group and exposing your children to many different ways of being in the world, will also have them feel a lot more comfortable about who they are and how they express themselves in this world.
Yeah, I would probably be less, I would probably have been less weird about race and ethnicity with my own self if I had seen more people like me represented when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But even when I was growing up, it was still like Black people are bad guys, and also here's Pocahontas.
Jeez.
Savages, barely even human. So having positive representation of lots of kinds of people, right? Even people who kids will come in contact with, not necessarily who are like them, but having a wide range of representation that is positive is super helpful.
Yep.
Well, it's 5:01. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. Is there a way? Well, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address out there into the world. And if anyone has questions, please feel free to contact me. I have ways of contacting all of the panelists.
Sure.
So if you have a question for a specific panelist, I can get that to them. And that's totally okay with me. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for sharing your amazing stories. And for the attendees, June is Pride Month, and it's so important not to just share and celebrate these stories during the month of June, but every day. As a queer woman and a librarian, representation and visibility is really important to me. And using my platform as a librarian to amplify the voices of LGBTQ and Black, Indigenous people of color. There is so much fear and pain in the world right now, a misunderstanding. And if we could help you understand our slice of life even just a little bit, then we've done our job. So thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you again soon.
Jen, does everybody know that they can invite a panel?
No, do you want to tell us about that?
Oh, I thought you were going to say how you got us to come.
Well, I have an in at the Diversity Center.
Anybody can call, right? The Diversity Center.
Ashlyn is my wife, so I just asked nicely. But yes, you can contact the Diversity Center of Santa Cruz County to schedule triangle speakers for your job place or school, if you're an educator. So that is absolutely on the table. And if you guys want to plug more, please feel free to.
Well, now that it's virtual, anybody can invite you into your family home.
Sure.
You can also, if you want to contact Jen and say, hey, I want like a whole training, she'll send you to the right place. Really, anything you need, ask a librarian, honestly.
Yeah.
Super. Thank you all.
Is there a way to publish my email address? Zoom support team, help.
Somewhere.
While you're doing that, just going back to the previous question about books, I find graphic novels to be a great way as a conversation starter for any child of any age. Genderqueer is one that I just recently read, and I think you will see that it's a great graphic novel. It's written by Maya Kobabe, and her name is spelled Maya Kobabe.
I believe they prefer they or A-E.
You'll have to.
The author.
I believe it's A.
Yes, you're right, and thank you for correcting me there. So there is an example of pronoun misuse. So I appreciate the correction there, Jen. I found that book to be a great book to read. And then there's also another one, A Quick and Easy Guide to Queer and Trans Identities. This particular book is, as the blurb says, part queer history, part coloring in book. So that's a fun one to utilize. And there's another author, if I can just find it. Alok, A-L-O-K, is, it's just a book just came out called Beyond Gender. Beyond the Gender Binary, and it's a tiny, small little book, like about this big. And it's more for younger folks, but it's also a great resource. Yeah, and they are queer, and they are also a person of color.
My next door neighbor, just their kids started asking questions about like how to express themselves like through their clothing and stuff. And so I brought to them Julian is a mermaid, which this little kid loved so much, and then ended up fashioning a dress out of a curtain and wearing it around the house for the next like 5 weeks. So yeah.
Kids.
And what was the book that Paloma came out with, Ren? Ashlyn? About the fish?
Finding Marla. Looking for Marla?
Finding Marla.
Finding Marla. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great, and these are all local authors, so you're supporting the local economy, which is always a great thing.
It's Looking for Marla, because it's like
Looking for Marla, yes.
But
Looking for Marla.
Let's see. And Leslie, the first title you mentioned was Genderqueer the first title?
Genderqueer, and the author's name is M-A-I-A, last name Kobabe, and also a local author and writer.
And how can people become Triangle speakers?
Well, I see.
I'm going to direct that to Ashlyn.
I see one person was interested, so I'm doing an email introduction right now. It's like pulled up on my other screen here. But anybody who's interested, go ahead and email trianglespeakers@diversitycenter.org, and we'll get you started. Things are a little slower with trainings right now, just because of things not being in person, but we will make it happen.
There's no age limit, right?
No age limit.
Young or old. Mm-hmm.
And allies can become speakers.
And just come hang out with us.
It's pretty cool.
It is.
And my email address is now my name. So, right.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Jen.
Questions on here.
It is Hooker, HOOKERJ @SantaCruzPL, as in public library.org. So like I said, feel free to send me any emails. We are about 10 minutes past, so I'm going to go ahead and say thank you all again. Well done. Always interesting to sit in on a Triangle Speakers panel. Thank everyone else for coming, and I hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate it, Jen.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody say thank you, Jen.
Bye.
Bye-bye.